got us an off day coming up, and so it's going to be really a big opportunity for people to get right in a short period of time. We're stepping into a stadium next week, and so, all this work is important, but, obviously some of it is weighted more than the others, and so it would behoove guys to get into that stadium on Friday night.
Everybody, you are looking live at St. Vincent College, coming off an off day, but they are in pads today, just like they were on Sunday. Happy game week, everybody, and welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by FedEx and Missi Matthews, in for Mike Pursuta. Max Starks, though, here as always. A nice day off for everybody. A game is coming up. You get to hit another colored team. It's not going to be black and gold anymore. What do you think the guys are thinking as they're getting through these last few practices before it's finally game day?
I think one of the biggest things is just kind of the butterflies, like the anticipation of actually going onto an NFL field and actually performing in a contest, albeit an exhibition-style game. But it's for these young guys, for these new guys on the team, it's an opportunity to go through the paces and feel the environment. And I think that's something that's going to be in the back of their minds. They got 2 hard days of practice, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you're going to have that kind of prep walkthrough-y type of day because you don't really game plan, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, for the first game of the season. But there's still a prep-style day to give them a little bit of a rest before they actually hit game day on Friday.
When I think, as Coach Tomlin always says, Max, it's like going through the motion and the process of here's what we do on game day. Here's the hotel that you sleep in. Here is how you get into the stadium. Here's the locker room. Here's how you get to the field. All of the little things that I think help, and they have 2 home games first before they'll go through the, traveling away team type of thing for their 3rd preseason game in Atlanta. But as you said, and I think also maybe the butterflies are also exciting in a way, especially for, as we're looking at Coach Tomlin down there with the offense, for those guys to kind of get a real feel of what Arthur Smith's offense is going to look like and supposed to feel like.
Well, and there's questions surrounding, I think, for the fans and for the media as well that haven't been here every day like we have. There's a lot of questions about what does this look like? What is going to be different? Can you get these athletes and guys that are on your roster into a position to be successful? So it's a lot of questions that we hope to get some type of marginal answer to, because obviously teams play vanilla against each other, but just to see how the flow is going. And I think one of the things that you were talking about, Missy, just like your shirt says, the standard. It's what is the standard
right.
To know what is the standard. So this is that first step for a lot of those guys to understand and go through the paces of hopefully the next step of becoming a Steeler.
All right, and we do want to hear from you, Steelers Nation, so you can tweet us if you have any questions, if it's about game day, if it's about stuff here up at camp. Max is our expert, and he has all the answers, right, Max?
Sure. If I don't, I know a guy.
Yeah, you can phone a friend.
Yeah, I can phone a friend.
But let us know, and we'll get to those throughout our program. And I will say I am pleasantly surprised by this crowd for a Tuesday. Maybe fans are just excited that a game is finally coming up to come watch them in practice. And as I said, the pads are on.
The pads are on. Listen, you got a day off yesterday to lick your wounds. Come on now. This is the type of environment we're talking about now. I know that I've now learned that, I can use back in my day because I've now crossed the 40 threshold. So I'm allowed to say back in my day, pads were every day. There wasn't like a day where say, we're just going to take. No, pads were every day. It's just 2 times a day. How is it, half pads or full pads? That was the only option. So, getting a day off, you had a nice physical practice on Sunday where you got live goal line, live short yardage, and you got a day off. So hopefully they're reinvigorated. Hopefully the offense is a little pissed off. Honestly, that's what I want because they didn't have as great a day. Defense kind of dominated them on Sunday, on Family Day, in front of all your family, your friends, and, of course, the viewing public. So hopefully they come with a little bit of spark today in practice, get a little bit re-inspired because, like you said, it's game week, and that has to give you some type of just buzz and feel. It's like first day of school. My kids have school tomorrow. It'll be their first day, but, you remember, like, getting up to it, like, oh, man, do I have all my stuff for my locker? Do I have all my notebooks and my Trapper Keeper? I don't know if they have Trapper Keepers anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they have those anymore, Max.
Yeah, but they do have folders. They have binders.
There you go.
It's a binder. It's a really cool binder. But all of those things like leading up to, man, what's my first impression going to be? Because that's essentially what it is. This is your first impression for the rookies and for the guys who are brought in the offseason as free agents. this is your first impression, first day of school vibes going into this game on Friday. So you want to button up the little things while you still can, because once again, this is the lab. This is the forging ground. This is the test market, so to speak, before you go out and actually perform in front of a fans in a more live situation. So hopefully they're taking, those little moments to just be on target, be a little bit more ready, be a little bit more crisp. We'll see if we get a little bit more Russell Wilson, as we see in that screen.
Yep, as Coach Tomlin was sitting there talking to him, he's in full pad, so that's a good sign. Doesn't appear to be any steps back, but it will be interesting to see. I don't want to say when they unleash him, but when we get to see him, how we saw him during OTAs and minicamp, where he was there every single day. He took all of the first team reps. He was the guy, and it's been weird to see him have to kind of be on the sideline and not doing everything, but at the same time, a great opportunity for Justin Fields and a great opportunity for the Steelers coaching and scouting staff to see what he is capable of and how they can utilize him. And who knows what happens. It's a completely revamped quarterback room, but also no quarterback is here for more than a year.
Yeah, everybody's brand new. This was a fire sale last season, and and a complete renovation of the entire quarterback room. So you want to make sure that these guys are buttoned up, and I think the extra reps have helped Justin Fields as well as Kyle Allen have an opportunity. Then, of course, John Rice Plumlee, who'll probably see some time in the game potentially. So you want to make sure those guys are ready to be able to do anything that Arthur Smith asks. And for the young receivers, a lot of different guys have played as you try and figure out what this wide receiver room is. There's a lot of potential in this room, but what are they going to be? Van Jefferson's had a good camp. Calvin Austin's had a good camp. Quez Watkins has been good. Desmond Patrick, Scotty Miller. There's so many different options. So you want to see how these guys look in game time. Some of those guys are known vets, but other guys have yet to be proven in this type of environment. So hopefully they can go out and put their best foot forward.
And knowing what we have seen so far from this Arthur Smith offense, how much does the way he utilizes tight ends affect what they need out of that wide receiving core, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's creating variability. I mean, one of the things Arthur Smith talks about is I want you to be guessing. I don't want to get predictable, which was something we heard for the last 3 years. We are predictable. Every Yinzer in town would call after games, and I'd listen to Charlie and Stan and Rob and everybody have to answer questions over the years about how predictable this offense is. So he likes the anonymity. So whether they play a prominent role in pass games when it actually comes into games, or whether there's the decoys to get the other guys off, I think the tight ends have a valuable role in this offense, albeit whether it's blocking or whether it's going to be catching the ball or whether it's going to be creating formational disadvantages and being able to utilize other players. But I think they're a big key to the success of the offense this year.
You mentioned on Sunday it was family day. Goal line short yardage was introduced as Coach Tomlin kind of sprinkles the fun parts throughout as they continue to stack practices and days. It was supposed to happen going towards one end zone, and because the families were in the opposite end zone, he switched the script because he said, your families need to see this.
Yeah.
And you did say, defense won 7 shots. They won goal line. But on Friday, the offense, 7-0 and 7 shots. So I think it's good that they are going back and forth. You don't want it to be just the defense dominating all the time or vice versa. So what do you think in terms of what you saw on Sunday, especially the goal line of guys who maybe stepped up or surprised you?
Well, I looked at it, and I think, defensively, DeMarvin Leal had a big play. Tyler Matakevich, also another guy at the linebackers, blew
Dirty
up.
Red.
Yeah, Dirty Red blew up one of the dive plays. So you see like those type of things, and those guys kind of jump out. I like some of the road grading. I thought Dan Moore and Isaac Seumalo had a nice seal on Cam Hayward for one of the touchdown scores. I'm trying to think. There was a nice block by Jack Coletto. Jack Coletto had a nice lead block. Yep. He had a nice block.
2 times, I think.
Yeah, he was in there twice. One of them, not so much. He kind of got clipped off by a guy leaking through the B gap. And then the other time, he had a nice solid block. So, there was some give and take on both sides of the ball, which I really liked. But defense, decidedly owned it. And I think the linebackers, there was one where it was a free fire off the edge. I can't remember who exactly it was. It was a DB type, body type. They came off the edge and blew a play up from the backside because they just overloaded one side, not enough bodies. So, there was some good stuff as I was watching the film and as I was down there. And it was a great competitive environment. I think that's one of the biggest things. make it competitive, make it fun, make guys blood boil. Remember in the last goal line, they brought the ones back in to like, hey, we need to do this. Arthur Smith was boiling. He was running down the sidelines, and he called a play, and Jalen Warren got in for the final score just to show, hey, we can do this. We can line up big, and we can go right at you. And he was very pumped. Even though they lost the drill, to win the very last shot of that drill, I think is something that you look as a momentum builder, and that they can do it.
Well, and sorry not to cut you off, but going back to last season, red zone was just one of those areas where you were like, we have to improve on that, scoring more points, and that's something that will be an emphasis for this entire offense throughout. I think also, too, just knowing the way that Arthur Smith is being embraced by not just his players on the offensive side of the ball, but we talked to Landon Roberts following that practice on Sunday, and I know we asked him about how Arthur Smith likes to chirp a little bit, and he said it's not only that he keeps it competitive, but what he likes is that he not only explains to the offense the why, this is why we're doing this, he does the same for the defense to try to help them as well. So it's good for both sides, and he just seems to be one of those coaches that players gravitate towards and really feel like his mentality is trickling down to them, and it's starting to come together.
So you're saying he was a former head coach somewhere before?
Yeah.
He might have skill set
Maybe
for
a few
that.
Years. Yeah. But you know what? People said that about him in Tennessee too.
Yeah.
When he was the OC and where he started as the tight ends coach as well. I think that it just feels like that is his vibe, that's his personality, and that's what he strives, is to have those great relationships and to build off of them.
Well, to be a teacher, right? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. He's a teacher, and he wants everybody to succeed. And I think that's where the head coaching, when I made that little joke, was that's when head coaching, like, he wants everybody to win because he knows the success of the team is greater than personal goals. And I think when you have that type of mindset and it's genuine, you get the embracing that they have. Like, guys love being around them. They love talking to coach, running off the field, having a conversation. They know he's going to be jaw-jacking the other side, so it's like, coach has my back.
Yeah.
And coach is going to put me in a position to be successful. And you see more animated, more lively character than you have on the offensive side of the ball in a number of years, to where you feel that animation and he tries to breathe some extra life into the rest of the crew.
What do you expect to see from his offense on Friday when they finally get in his stadium?
Physicality. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking for is, can you be physical at the point of attack? Can you go bully somebody instead of being bullied?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see control the lines of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball, and then also defensively see what our guys can do against the opposing. I want the trenches to be a focal point in this game and make sure that we're delivering the blows and not receiving them as much as possible, because I think that will go a far way to establishing a mindset that carries into the regular season.
And you would have to expect to see a decent amount of Justin Fields no matter what Russell Wilson does in practice this week, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, heck, starters didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. Starters usually don't play week one. So even if you have Russell Wilson as penciled in still as your number one guy, he wasn't going to get a lot of exposure anyways in the game. It would have been more ramped up out here in the practice field for him playtime-wise. So I expect to see a lot of Justin Fields and Kyle Allen. They've been running most of the practices with those two. And like I said, sprinkle in a little John Rice Plumlee maybe at the end of the game just to get guys a feel, and also get up to game speed. Understand what NFL speed is, even though this is like half speed in the preseason. But still, it's a tick up from what you experienced in college.
Let's go back to our tweets and see if we have any that Max can help answer. We want to know, what questions do you have coming up about game week? What questions do you have in terms of training camp here? Only 5 more practices left, which just seems completely crazy. Okay, I like this one.
Okay. Which
rookie player are you looking forward to watching most versus the Texans? Steelers Nation Australia is going Peyton Wilson. I think that's a pretty good one.
I mean, that's a solid one. Also, good day, mate. I'm sure you're a day ahead of us out there in Australia. But I would say Peyton Wilson is a good one. Another guy I'd like to throw in there, Beanie Bishop.
Okay.
Because he's been getting a lot of nickel slot responsibilities in that competition with him and Graylin Arnold. So I would like to see what Beanie Bishop also has. But Peyton Wilson, a very good choice as well.
What about the O-line?
Well, I mean, the
Come
O-line's
on,
the O-line. They're my guys.
They're your guys.
They're going to be in together, and I'm going to watch them have their moments. You know, I love what Mason McCormick brings from a physicality standpoint. He's a fight waiting to happen. So I love that aspect of it.
He's proven that.
He has proven that. Zach Frazier, solid still, kind of getting used to the grown man strength that is NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some good days. And, of course, Troy Fautano, I believe, second-string guys are going to get a majority of burn. I'm excited for all three of them, but I think the ones that pop and could be a starter is the ones that I kind of gravitate towards because Beanie Bishop, there is a slot corner need right now. And Peyton Wilson is the other person that has to be in a position to be in that rotation with Pat Queen and Landon Roberts. So when you think about starter capable getting on the field faster, I think those guys have a quicker pathway than the offensive line.
Alan Saunders, one of the beat reporters who's been here every day at camp, had a chance to talk to offensive line coach Pat Meyer in a one-on-one, and he said that Pat Meyer said that we're going to see Broderick at left tackle a lot during the preseason games, obviously getting reps on both sides here. What do you make of how they're trying to figure out the best combination?
They're going about a slow approach. There's no need to just all of a sudden put it as a very fast thing. They're trying different combinations. In practice on Sunday, you saw Broderick Jones at left tackle, Troy Fautano at right tackle, and then you saw Spencer Anderson at right guard, Mason McCormick at left guard, and then Nate Herbig was at center. That was one rotation. And then you saw another rotation where it was Troy at right with Broderick out, Dan Moore at left, still Isaac Siamalu, and then you also had Zach Frazier in there for one. And so they're just trying all these different ones. And then there's one with Dylan Cook was in at left tackle, Troy Fautano was at right tackle, and they're trying all these combinations because I think there's the top two depth is a lot of competition there, and so you're trying to figure out what combination mixes the best with everybody. Because I think for a guy like a Spencer Anderson, right, he's a guy who's like a Swiss Army knife along that offensive line.
Played every position last preseason.
Yeah, can play everywhere, so that he gets a certain amount of credence. And then of course for Fautano, getting the shots at right tackle, I would love to see him a little bit at right guard just to see what it looks like. Because when you're talking about getting the best five on the field, I think he's kind of that guy that teeters on the 5-6 line. So I would love to see what he can bring at guard possibly. And then for Nate Herbig and Zach Frazier, I think Nate Herbig's still the leader in that. I haven't seen enough from Zach to say, okay, I need to put you here. But he's been solid, and that's the other thing. It's like rookies are allowed to be rookies. I think we kind of get enamored with the force feeding of getting guys into position as soon as possible when some guys do need a little bit of maturation because the game is different. You don't get generational players every single day, and just because you draft in the first round doesn't mean they're going to start out at the position they were drafted at. There's a lot of things involved, but I like the way that they're trying to match these combinations. I think that step in game day will be interesting to see how they mix in and how they create these different lineups. But it's still a process, and I think this group is growing, but I really like what I'm seeing so far.
In terms of Nate Herbig, if you go all the way back to the Combine, which feels like a year ago, in Indy, Omar Khan said, hey, we have Nate Herbig. When asked about the center position, they very quickly cut Mason Cole and some other guys as they were starting to reconstruct and figure out free agency in the draft for the 2024 version of the Steelers. It feels like maybe some people were like, I don't know. But as you said, it feels like Nate is like, okay, I want this job and I'm going to continue to work hard and try to keep it.
Yeah, he's fighting hard, and once again, and I think I alluded to this. I was on a radio show yesterday, and I talked about, the center position is not just about being there and being the nastiest bully in the world. Like, there's so many other factors. Like, you have to command that offensive line. They have to have your respect. They have to have your eyes and your attention. And when you talk, it's for a purpose. There's very intentional in the process. And then the next thing you know, you have to go out and you have to actually compete. You have to execute your assignment. You need to be able to snap the ball successfully, get it to the quarterback, get your hand back into play, make sure you're not leaking anything between either of the A-gaps, which is each shoulder between him and the guards. And then the third thing, finish. You got to finish with great intensity and a little bit of nastiness. And that's what I see with Nate. Nate hits all of those metrics. And I think for right now, Zach Frazier, Zach's hitting like 2 out of the 3. And you just don't know which 2 of the 3 is going to hit on any given time. But that maturation will get there. It's a different system. When you play in one system for 46 games and then now you come to the league and it's a different terminology, a different way of looking at things, different offensive structure, that can still take some time to be a really good center. And there's very few that can make that transition immediately.
Is it too early, or does it matter that the quarterback position has been changing in terms of who went with the ones in the offseason, who's going with the ones now, and also the center position?
I think once you hammer down the center, that's going to make things a lot easier. But I think as an offensive lineman, I need to get used to all those voices. I need to hear the different sounds, the different inflection points in a quarterback's voice, so that when he gets in the game, it's not in the middle of the season and I've never heard his voice before. You know, those are the things. Like, you take an injury and then all of a sudden a guy comes in and you're like, what was that? I thought you said it was on 2. Well, I kind of have a little hits before I say 2. Like, all of those little, like, kind of nuanced things, you want to get used to those. And what is good, this offensive line, first and second unit, because Justin takes snaps with both units, that they're getting used to his voice, getting used to his cadence. Kyle Allen the same way. They're getting used to that cadence and that voice so that it doesn't catch you off guard. I think the biggest thing is going to be when Russ gets back in there and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I remember this.
Switch.
You know, it's going to be a switch, but getting used to that is good. Because, like, Charlie Batch, when I had Charlie Batch, Byron Leftwich, and Dennis Dixon, all three of them sounded completely different from Ben. So it was like,
right.
Okay, I need to get used to this. Like, when Ben was suspended one season for 4 games, the first 4 games of the season, we had 3 different quarterbacks in those 4 games.
Right.
So
which voice are you listening
to?
to?
Yeah, which voice am I listening to? Oh, is it B left? I was like, is it Chuck? I'm like, or is it Double D? I'm like, wait a second, hold up. Got to listen for a second. Okay, there's a little bit difference there, and it's a fun process to go through that. I think getting to go through it out here makes it a lot easier.
In terms of, the rookies easing in, we saw it last year with Broderick Jones. We saw it with Joey Porter Jr. I think people wanted them to go in sooner than they did, but it almost feels like it worked out. This is hindsight, but during the time, it just felt like everyone was clamoring in anticipation of when can they finally be starting and in there the whole time.
Everybody wants to open the Christmas gifts once they go into the tree, whether it's the 20th or the 23rd.
That's
they
a
can't
great
wait.
analogy.
And you start looking around like, oh, I want to go to that box fair. That's a big one. That has to be something cool. And so you start, shaking the packages, and that's what it is with a first round and a second round draft pick. You're like, man, I need to get here now. I want this now. And it's like, you have to understand, it's a process. Like, I want this guy for the next 10 years. I don't need him for the next 10 games. So if he has to sit 3, 4, 5, 12 games in the season before he's ready, you have a long-term deal with this guy, and you want him to be a figurehead for many years to come. So I don't like the microwave effect. I want to see guys get matured, get some polishing, and when they go out there, they have the best first impression in a regular season game, as opposed to just throwing them out there for necessity, and then they kind of mess up along the way because you're still trying to win a Super Bowl. The business of this game is to win a Super Bowl. It's not to get starting experience. It's not to be, appease the crowd. You want to appease them by getting wins, not just appease them by appearances.
We saw down there Isaac Seumalo in a bucket hat, as we call it Bucket Hat Day for him, Vets Day, but you know what you have in him, but also, as Coach always says, it's a chance for other guys to get the reps in practice before they're able to take it into the stadium.
Yeah, because face it, Isaac Seumalo is going to have a bucket hat on Friday.
Absolutely.
For the majority. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so might as well get the young guys prepped, get them some extra reps, especially since this is game week, even though we're not game planning. It's game week. So get those guys some reps, give them a day off. And listen, he's fought Cam Hayward every day since he's been here. He deserves a break, It's like, and he does a solid job. So it's like, come on, get Mason McCormick some extra reps. Let's see how he's going to respond in those moments as we show Mason on the screen there. He's the guy that will be the fill-in for Isaac Seumalo. So get him some reps. I feel like James Daniels will probably be another guy. So Spencer Anderson will probably pick up some reps today. Then you'll see a 3-tackle rotation. Actually, 4-tackle rotation. I'm not going to put anything on. Dylan Cook's been having a heck of a camp. It's been excellent watching him so far. So I can't wait to see him in the stadium. So you'll get the 4 tackles that will rotate around. But it's a really big moment for all those guys.
When you've had a chance to go down there on the weekends, I saw you Friday Night Lights. You were able to hang out with the O-line. What did you learn? Give us a story, Max.
Well, I think one of the biggest, the communication. What I love is this group is talking so much more. And you hear them cracking jokes, but you also hear them giving the rookies some constructive criticism. Like, I remember James Daniels and Broderick Jones helping Troy Fautano by telling him, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to think about. And James was like, hey, listen to what Broderick's telling you. And you see that type of chemistry and guys communicating, and it's special, and it's so different from what it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and even last year. Guys just didn't talk. So hearing them laugh, squirt each other with water, I mean, all those things are fun things that you get to see, but you really see guys locked in and really having a healthy competition, but also helping each other grow as players, which I think is a very unique thing, and I really enjoyed watching the offensive line work in that modicum.
What do you think was the change? Why is that happening now? As you said, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So what changed?
I think it's comfortability and the personality types. Like Broderick is naturally, you could tell, he's an alpha male.
Yeah.
He loves talking. He's very emotional.
Loves talking.
Yeah. So I think that opened up a lot of other guys, and so I think that allows James to talk a little bit more. Isaac, I think I've only heard 17 words. I'm keeping a running count, 17 words since I've ever been around him. So I think, see, even then, probably 12 of them came this camp. So,
Right.
so that's an uptick. But I think Nate Herbig, he's a quiet guy, but he's a jokester. So they have their own little talk. And then the young guys don't know any better, so they come in and they're very verbal with it. Mason is a very boisterous, physical guy. He's talking trash to the defense, so that encourages, other guys. Troy is a very physical, yet very respectful guy. So he's going to talk, but he's more so listening, which I appreciate, especially for a young tackle. So, yeah, it's a nice mix, and I think guys don't feel afraid because, the veteran aspect, the older guys who brought the baggage of the past with them, are no longer here. So you kind of have young leaders trying to step up and fill new roles.
Well, I think it's cool, too, that, Dan Moore really helped Broderick Jones last year during his rookie season, and Broderick was very thankful for it, spoke about it all the time, and it was, it was just the pass down thing that happened again this year where he just jumped right in. And I think he does embrace that leader role, as you said, that alpha male role where you can be a loud voice in that room. You can help other guys, even though you have an Isaac Seumalo. Isaac Seumalo is a lead by example type guy. Like, watch what I do and then you do it. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah. No, he's the strong, silent type. And I think when you get that person, they kind of wanted, oh my gosh, they wanted that when they first brought him and Mason Cole and James Daniels in, like, hey, we need you guys to be this. And it's like, that's not really my nature. And so, you kind of had that quiet, like, okay, they're going to get it. I'm not going to tell them what to do, but they're just going to watch and hopefully they pick it up. And, Chooks came in. Chooks was not a guy that was very vocal and very verbal in his time here. So it was just one of those things that was a mystery. And then, of course, Zach Banner, right before I got here, wasn't able to compete, released, had the injury, never quite healed from it. So you didn't really get that personality as well. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's funny how a group grows, and it takes time. I mean, my rookie year, I walk in, I'm the young guy, and I'm the only rookie that's in this room. And you've got guys like Jeff Hardings, who's been in the league at that point, 10-plus years. Alan Faneca, Hall of Fame guy.
Yeah.
Kendall Simmons, first-round draft pick. Marvell Smith, been there for 5 years before I even said anything. And then you had Oliver Ross, 9 years in the league. Kedrick Vincent. And Chucky Jacoby is also another guy that's been there. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm sitting next to a veteran in Barrett Brooks who's been there 14 years in the league. And I'm just soaking it all up. But you're like, okay, I can't really say anything. I can't really lead. But as I matured, as I got to like my third year, fourth year, I was more vocal. I was able to start creating, a leadership role because I had younger guys coming in behind me. Our 05 class was filled with talent. We had two guys that came in, Trey Essex and Chris Kimiyatu. Next thing, Marvin Phillip and Willie Colon in the following year, then Darnell Stable. So you start getting young guys, and then they started like, well, hey, I can talk to you. I can't go talk to Red. I can't go talk to Marvell. Marvell didn't talk to anybody. So it's like, Max, you're the guy I can talk to. So you kind of take guys under your wing, and that's what allows you to grow, and that's what we've seen from this group. It's kind of grown over the 4 years that I've been here.
We just saw Coach Dumlin down there talking to Najee Harris. Jalen Warren seemed to be nearby as well. Those are the guys, obviously. We understand what they can do. They have proven it. They are the trash talkers. They are the leaders in the backs on backers. They like to go after Patrick Queen and a Landon Roberts. And I feel like none of those guys are crossing a line. It's getting your group ready to go and being able to create that competition. But after those two, Jalen and Najee, what are you seeing from those other guys trying to earn a roster spot?
Well, I think a guy, Aaron Shampkin, has been doing a really good job as that third back. Like, he's a versatile guy that can go multiple places, and he can catch out of the backfield. He can block. He can run the football, and he's really providing a nice change-up to what you see with Jalen and Najee, the known commodities. But then also, LaMichael Pirine has been another guy that's been pleasantly surprising. Some dive action. He also has soft hands. So I think you're starting to see a nice rotation back there. And, of course, you throw in Jack Coletto, the human Swiss Army knife, guy that played a quarterback, played linebacker. Now he's a fullback. He has a little kind of do-it-all type of mentality to go along with a Connor Hayward. who can not only be a tight end or an H-back, but he can also be a fullback as well. So that running back room looks really interesting. Still waiting for Patterson. Still waiting.
Still waiting.
That's
I know.
another one because I feel like he's such an X factor because you could do so much with him, and he's proven it in the league. It's going to be interesting once you finally get him off that NFI list. But I like what LaMichael P. Ryan and I like what Aaron Shampkin have done so far. Haven't seen as much from Dejan Edwards. He hasn't really flashed as much as I'd like, but he's still a rookie, and he's got a very veteran-laden room that's going to demand reps. So hopefully this game, maybe he gets some reps and can show some things and show a little spark to demand more reps and demand more opportunities.
As you said with CP, you just see him there. He's working on the other field. Not a chance to do special teams or work with this offense just yet. Obviously, he knows Arthur Smith, but Coach Tomlin usually makes a point to walk past him at some point and say, hey, I'm waiting for you. To just I know you're still here. I know you're working hard, but, we want you on field 1, not field 2.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. We want to see what you can bring over to the big boy level, right? Can you elevate to varsity? Yeah. That's what always he was talking about, especially during the O-line, D-line drills. He said, "Oh, look at these JVs trying to fight for varsity reps." But that's the mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need you on field 1. I don't need you on field 2. Show me what you can bring to the table and try and be a guy who can put your hand in the pile. So it's very interesting. Like you said, Friday's going to be, I feel like, a big moment. The next phase is in creating this team. You're going to see some separation, and the divisional labor is going to change that following week after that game.
I know there's no hardcore game planning. You're not watching film from the Hall of Fame game on the Texans. You probably watched it in real time maybe. But there has to be a little bit of structure, right, in terms of what they want to see from all 3 units.
Well, there's division of labor. So, there will be snap counts, and I'm sure there'll be little thresholds that will be made like, hey, you guys got 2 series, but if you have this type of stop or a sack or an interception defensively, all right, you're out. Offensively, we might give you a drive or 2, but if you drive down the field, at one time and you hit a nice touchdown that looks productive, that has enough plays in it, shut them down.
Right.
So you'll have those milestones. Kickoff coverage and kickoff return. No way. Once you're on there, you're going to practice. You're not getting out of that. I don't care if you're out of your offensive and defensive responsibilities. You're still on for special teams. But like field goal unit, punt cover, like those other phases, I think you'll phase guys in and out as they come out the game. But the coverage units will be the one exception, I think, that you'll want to get as many reps as possible just so you can get adjusted and see what it is and put it on tape for Danny Smith to go over and review.
Right, and we have seen some of that happen here at Latrobe at St. Vincent College. I was on a seminar yesterday through the NFL with all the different broadcast partners about the new dynamic kickoff, and it does lead to so many questions once you sit there and you watch things, and it's like, wait, what is the penalty if there is motion? It's 5 yards, different things like that, and I think, Danny Smith is very vocal. We always hear him. We always see him chewing the gum. But on Friday, I think it's going to be big to see what he has. And as I'm sure you and Mike spoke about, Coach Tomlin being part of helping with EA to make the college video game or the NFL video game to mimic what it will be like. It also gives people a chance to figure out, is it better to use big guys here or little guys or fast guys? And how can we take advantage of what the new rules are presenting? And it's something that will be, used and experimented with throughout the preseason. They still don't know if it's going to be in full effect for 2024 or also 2025.
And that's the thing. This is an ever-evolving thing, and I think special teams coaches are very crafty, very creative. The more you start to see something, the more you get a beat and you can put your thumb down on it. I think you'll see more creativity. I think you will see the quick guys, but also you might see a more bruising, bigger back style type of guy that has to break the line, almost like a rugby style type of play because of that close proximity. Whereas it's not just, oh my gosh, we're trying to get to the fastest corner and run the corner and be done with it. You're going to see guys try and be physical or try to create some type of crazy reverses. Like there's a lot of opportunity there, but I think because it's so new and there's such a limited view from the NFL perspective, you can watch the XFL, you can watch the UFL and figure all that stuff out. But NFL athletes, there's a reason why they're in the NFL. And so the body types, things you might have been able to get away with in those other situations, you might not be able to get away with here. So it just takes some time. And the good thing is we're in the preseason. You got 3 games to kind of figure it out. And then keep it vanilla still. but
Right.
get the base groundwork done, and then you can start adding in the wrinkles as we get into the season.
Right, and you don't want to show your cards right away, especially in the preseason. Taking a live look down here on the field, I believe this is day 11 of practice. Yes, that's correct, which seems like it flew by, but at the same time, it has taken forever to get to this first preseason game. Not that we're there just yet, but this is Coach Eddie Faulkner, the running backs coach, always coming up with these crazy drills, different things, ball security, putting guys through the ringers, and just trying to figure out new ways to improve.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to see. Get some physicality in there. Punch it out. I want to see the boxing glove being a little more aggressive. I believe you used the boxing glove perfectly on Pursuit of that
That's
one
right.
day. So I mean, you want to see that. I mean, and then the one guy has like the pugil stick arms, little red, like it looked like a big red crayons on his hands. I mean, you want to see that type of stuff. But, yeah, I enjoy seeing this because, I mean, ball security is a very important thing. That's why you see all the position groups, not just running backs going through this, but you see tight ends. You see the wide receivers. Everybody has to be ball secure and be aware and conscious of those different concepts because that's the name of the game. Keep possession, maintain possession. Don't give anything away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, just it's still not football-like because it's not another team that you're facing up against. And you go through the process of OTAs and minicamp with football in shorts. Then you finally get to training camp, but it's like, oh, just hold on a second. We're going to acclimate first. Then we finally put the pads on. And then you go through that process, and you're like, okay, we're ready for a game. And I think this team definitely has shown the physicality. I think it's the same thing every year, Max, when there is new players to the Steelers organization or even national media that come here to watch practice, they're usually surprised about how physical it is, why there is tackling. And Coach Tomlin is very adamant that you can't do it when it's real if you don't practice it.
Well, and hello, football's a collision sport.
Newsflash.
Yeah, newsflash. In case anybody was wondering, this is flag will be at the next Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Like that,
It's true.
and that's a different thing. But football, American style football, because we are in the Olympics, so I have to be aware of that we have an international audience. American football. It's a physical sport. It's a collision sport. There's contact every single play. It's not incidental. It is welcomed. It is expected. And so you have to be able to hit and bruise. And the one thing I love to say, the reason why you get physical in practice is you need to callous the body. The body has to get used to taking a hit and then going back out and performing the very next play. If you've never been hit and then you jump into a game, it is going to be a world of difference. And you will be wide-eyed and you will be scared if you don't get used to the small micro collisions to get your body used to and reacting to those said stressors.
All right, still taking a live look. There's some of the quarterbacks going through a bit of a handoff drill, and we haven't talked much about the defense today, so I want to rewind back to Sunday, and Coach Tomlin was talking about, the first goal line and what he liked individually and collectively from his guys on Sunday.
Man, I thought we had some young defenders really stand up. I had some guys out of the drill, like Larry Ogunjobi and Benton. And so we had guys like, Loudermilk and others, Logan Lee, stepping up in class and getting an opportunity to pit their skills against, more established guys. And so it's always good when guys get an opportunity to do that and to have some success. I thought some of those defensive linemen up front really represented themselves well.
Similar in 7 shots is kind of goal line light. A lot of running in that as well.
Yes. Yeah. Again, as I mentioned, it was about the bigs today.
All right, so that was Coach Tomlin following Sunday's practice. As we've outlined, Max, the defense, they probably ate the good meal, to be fair, on Sunday after
Well, it was family day, so it was all barbecue. It was all good
true.
food.
All right, so how does that work then?
Just got to check mark it.
Maybe they got extra dessert?
Yeah, carryover or something. Maybe, they got extra lemonade. They got the strawberry lemonade.
Not just the regular.
Yeah, not just the regular lemonade. They went fancy, And but no, I mean it was a dominating day, but. Because you think about it, Friday Night Lights, the offense dominated. They didn't get a meal afterwards because it was too late.
That's right. That's
so
right.
so kind of chalk it up as even.
Okay.
So now
That's fair.
New slate this week.
That's fair.
You won one, we won one. Now let's see who gets some steak and lobster or whatever surf and turf is out there. As an option. You got pads on today, so I imagine a very spirited 7 shots is going to come up
No doubt.
after we get off the airwaves. So I can't wait to see how that works, how that looks. And like you said, like Mike Tomlin said, the young D-line did a really good job. I mean, Logan Lee has been popping on film. He's physical. He's also nasty. He's the defensive equivalent of Mason McCormick.
It's so true.
And when they go against each other, there is no love lost on any given rep. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you let go of your arm. No, you let go of your arm. And, like, they're holding each other's pads and stuff. So it's fun to see that because that's an intensity you haven't seen. Because you know what Cam Hayward is. Cam's saving it for the game.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have any time to mess with these young boys.
Give him a bucket hat.
Yeah, exactly. Give him a bucket hat. Let him chill. Get him to week 1. Get him to Atlanta, right? But, for other guys like Logan Lee needs to prove himself. DeMarvin Leal, a big year. I know he's a veteran, so to speak, but he's still a young guy as far as experience-wise. Had a breakout year his first year. Second year, healthy scratch by the end of the year, dealing with a nagging knee injury. And now he looks reinvigorated. So this is really his second year in. So he's still a young guy. Keanu Benton, what are you going to build on? Because Keanu's looked excellent, and he's really taken over that first-string defensive nose tackle inside of the 3-4, but also in some of the sub stuff. So you have that. Montravius Adams came here. He's a vet, travel journeyman, but he's really settling into his role in year 4 here with the Steelers. So you're seeing a lot of those guys really make an impact. And then, of course, Nick Herbig. Bring the next step, bud. Bring the next step. We're waiting for it. We love what you got. He's a natural football player, and he looks like a good compliment to TJ and Alex. And then, of course, junkyard dog, Marcus Golden, right?
Yeah.
Tried and true veteran player, pro's pro. So you're starting to see, like, rooms start to clearly define themselves and start to bring some new stuff. And I just saw Jeremiah Moon back in the uniform, which is good to see. He's been nicked up the last couple of days. And he's a guy that's been showing some really nice stuff on the edge before he got injured. And, of course, Isaiah Loudermilk. Samson, right? All the hair, 6'7", humongous. He's been solid and been throwing in a very quiet but yet solid camp. Stuff that won't show up on the tape as far as stats, but he's doing things that makes other guys successful, which is the job of a defensive lineman in a 3-4. You're there to funnel all the action to the linebackers. You're there to take up 2 blocks, and so he's been doing some good things. So the defensive side of the ball, I've been really happy with the interior front 7 approach and the depth that they have right now.
And you got to love Carl Dunbar, the defensive line coach,
man.
just what he brings. Even TJ Watt and the outside linebackers credit how much he helps them in terms of rushing the passer and doing their job well. It just seemed like you go from John Mitchell. Obviously, they knew each other, but he's one of those guys that I think sometimes does not get enough credit for what he means to the Steelers defense.
Well, and Coach Dunbar, in the vein of John Mitchell, they're not very boisterous, talkative guys. When they talk, it's a little bit of a gruffy undertone. Hey, get that done. And that's about as animated as you're going to hear him say. If not, very instructional, very teacher-like. He's trying to instruct. He's trying to educate and trying to push and motivate, but not be overbearing. He doesn't want to be one of those guys that's all over you. He's not a big cusser or anything like that. He's just, hey, do you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing? I don't have time for this. I got veteran guys who can get these reps. If you can't pick it up, young buck, sit there and continue to watch.
Right.
And as you continue to watch, just make sure pack your bags along the way. I need guys who can produce, and he loves rotating multiple guys through a game. He likes 6 guys active going into a game. So if you could crack that top 6, you're in a very good place because he's going to use you.
Well, it keeps legs healthy. It keeps legs fresh. And sometimes, as we have seen in the past few years, especially even go back to last year for the defense, having to play close games and hold on as long as they could to squeak out some of those wins. There were not dominating wins where it was like, all right, no big deal. It was, hey, sorry, guys, you got to get back out on the field, continue to hold them. Just go back to that Cleveland Browns game where the defense, Alex Highsmith, they just completely dominated, and they were the reason why they won that game.
Yeah, because they never stopped him. And that's one of the other things, if we're going to quickly jump on the offense side again.
That's okay. We can go back.
That is what I think we want to see from an Arthur Smith offense is that you don't put your defense in harm's way at the end of games, that you can run the 4-minute offense and take 6 minutes off the clock. That's one of the things. That's one of the things where you want to see can offense be a good complement to the defense? And can the defense be a good complement to the offense? Go get the ball and go take the ball away, and keep the ball and maintain it and grind on folks. Like all of those things create that synergy to where you have success. And I think, one of the other things, I wasn't on the call yesterday because Wolf and I were texting back and forth trying, do you have the Zoom? Do you have the Zoom? Who has the Zoom? I don't have the Zoom. I didn't see this email. Do you see this email?
I should have emailed you guys.
You should have.
Again.
You should have,
I forgot
Missy.
to play mom.
We can't be unsupervised. Monday and off day, we need all instruction at all times. But I think one of the things I heard, I mentioned the name, Myles Garrett made a very pointed statement where he said, the new dynamic kickoff rule is going to alter offensive stats because they're going to get a closer shot on the field, and they're going to have less yards to work with more often than not. You can't get those backed up situations anymore. They're disallowing it from the kickoff perspective. You can only get it through a punt. So it's going to create shorter fields. So I thought about that. I was like, yeah, but that also puts you in scoring position a lot quicker.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot more opportunities to be offensive and to put up points on the board, to put stress on the opposing offenses and give your defense a little bit more grass to work with potentially.
Well, and I think, like you said, just the mentality, the physicality that Arthur Smith wants to see, the running of the ball. Just running the ball helps your defense stay longer on the bench. And those are things that they unfortunately did not have a chance to deal with last year. And then when you go back to the injuries of just the back half of the defense between Mika Fitzpatrick, DeMonte, there were just so many guys, the inside linebackers.
I mean, got decimated.
I just remember the excitement last year when Quan Alexander, I don't even think he was here for the first preseason game.
Nope.
And you saw what you had. Landon Roberts was new. Cole Holcomb was new. And it was working out great until it wasn't, and you did not think it could possibly get worse, and then the trade deadline passed, and then you dealt with another injury, and there you were trying to figure out how to make this work.
Trying to put 20 pounds on Miles Jack off the bench and trying to convince him to come back and play football.
Right, and to stop flying planes, and he owns a hockey team.
And a hockey team and being out of hockey practice. It's one of those things. It's such a relief to have depth. And you don't really appreciate depth until you get to an injury or till you have a group that's decimated. Because remember, the year before that, it was all the DBs.
Yep.
Like after week 4, Minka was out. It was just Terrell Edmonds, and that was it. And then a bunch of guys you brought off the streets, and you're trying to get guys to fill in. So you never know when one group's going to hit a rash of injuries. So that's why depth throughout the whole team is super important to keep those guys fresh, ready to go, and that you have multiple options available to you because you never know. TA famously said when he first got the job here, he's like, if I have 2 corners, I need 3. You just got to.
Yeah.
Because injury, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when those injuries are going to strike, and you never know what group is the group du jour, during a game or during a season. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's been years where it's hit the offensive line. I remember when Marquise Pouncey, Dave DeCat, there's just so many injuries that stick out in your mind. But you were talking about 2 years ago, just the defensive back unit. I immediately go back to the game against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers that they somehow won, and you were just literally kind of who's out there right now because it got to that point where there was nobody left.
I mean, it's like putting a classifieds ad out, It's like, hey, anybody reading the newspaper? We got a job available, open trials. But, I will say this. I do appreciate Tom Brady for self-sabotaging his own team for us to win that game.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna ask how. Just give me the results.
But we're good with it.
Yeah, don't need to know about labor pains. Show me the baby.
Yeah,
we're cool. I just need the final column to say win, not loss. And that group performed admirably, and they took advantage of the situation that was available to them. And we got through that game, and then, of course, we got guys healthy afterwards.
Absolutely. We were talking about the second-year guys, especially Nick Herbig and Keanu Benton. I think just watching what they were able to do in the offseason in terms of their training, changing their bodies. Keanu Benton told us he went to Hawaii, not a bad place, to hang out with the Herbigs and to train there. And then TJ Watt's just posting these photos where he's completely jacked in Wisconsin and Nick Herbig's right next to him trying to soak it all in. James Harrison, your former guy, out here trying to help them as well. And it's just been great to see Troy Polamalu of these guys utilizing the tools that are available to them and taking complete advantage.
Ike Taylor, Rashard Mendenhall, Isaac Redmond,
Max
also
Starks,
pouring into.
Greg Wolfley.
Yeah, you know me. I mean, me. I was there. I mean, I adjusted a jersey. I told a guy about a hand. I mean, you know, it's perfect. But that's what makes this so unique. That you have a wealth of information that you have to draw to, and you have human experience because you have guys coming out of here. You have guys coming back to camp because they want to be a part of it. Seeing Sean Sweesham with the Kickers, you know, on Sunday, hanging out for a little bit. It's a welcoming place, but guys also don't take it for granted, and they try and use as much time as possible.
I'm trying to peek over at practice. We're entering the 7 shots portion. And before I say what I'm going to say, I think Russell Wilson
Yep.
is taking the first rep of 7 shots.
Whoa.
So there's our breaking news for the day,
There we go.
Max.
Breaking news. Russell Wilson starting practice as a starter.
I'll take it, though. It's something that we have all been waiting to see.
Game week. That's the biggest thing. It's game week.
All right.
First play, touchdown. There we go.
Not mad about it.
Russell Wilson effect. I know, I kid, but for the most part, that's a good sign. You have a game coming up Friday. You haven't had your slated starter right now in. Now he's in there, and he's getting work. So we do apologize if you see the side of our face because we're trying to catch action and take turns on looking at what's happening.
Justin Fields is now in. So
Justin Fields in.
But again, it's the
Limited.
baby steps and not taking the steps back. Because sometimes with injuries, especially here at camp, we see that occur. And it's unfortunate, but your availability is your best ability, as Coach Tillman always says. And I think it's different going through OTAs and minicamp practices where Russ is your starter than coming to training camp where he's not. I mean, literally did not get to fully start a practice yet.
It has not finished a practice either.
Correct.
So it's been really fun to kind of watch his maturation in this process because he's never lost sight. Like Russ has been very in tune and locked in at practice every single day, getting extra work after practice, creating an environment to where he's trying to make sure that he gets as much success as possible and gets as much experience as he can within the parameters that the training staff and the coaching staff will allow him to have. So I'm really impressed by that. That was a great sign to see him in that drill and them have success immediately. But once again, I think Justin Fields gets the lion's share because he's going to play the most on Friday. So it's like you don't want to take too many developmental reps that are going to show up in the game, but at least get him enough that he feels comfortable and that it makes everybody's a win-win.
Well, the good news is Russell Wilson did go back in, and he threw a touchdown to George Pickens. So handed one off, threw one.
2 for 2.
Baby steps.
Yeah, somebody might be wanting lobster. I'm just saying for dinner today.
And usually when you hear the cheers, although the defense seems to be a little bit more animated, it's the fans that tell you that it was an offensive touchdown.
Yes, it's the fans more than the players. Players, because the defense jaw-jacking the entire time, trying to get people up, and the defense, and the fans are like, we're here to see points. We want to see points. Throw it back to George Pickens. He's open every play, right? Hand it off to Najee. He'll get in the end zone every time. They want to see the excitement. I mean, points scored is what drives the excitement of the game. But very spirited behind us. So I'm definitely going to have to go back to the film and watch this session because it's really cool when they have these competitive moments because, they're going to peel back a little bit.
Sure.
As far as anticipation. You're not going to have goal line again today. You're not going to have short yardage, live tackle down, take to the ground tackling of the drill. I think that was an offensive one. I'm just going to guess.
Based on the cheers, I would agree.
Yeah, based on the cheers.
Oh, interception.
Okay, never mind. Interception. See, the crowd just wants to see a big play. Somebody catch the ball.
They're just
they don't
here
care
to
what
see,
jersey color it is.
They're amped up. They're ready for game week 2. This is as close as they've gotten to real live action as well. And excited for the game on Friday at Acrisure Stadium, Houston Texans. They've already had to play one. They're going to play another one. Will be interesting to see what they do in terms of their starters because sometimes, coaches are on different pages of who they want to see out there. The Steelers can decide one thing, but it can be completely different for the opposition. So will be interesting to see. But I think, the good things that we have been hearing from Russell Wilson is the fact that he's still in here at Latrobe. He's in dorm rooms. He is out on the stoop, as the players like to call it, not just playing Uno and card games, but also getting to know his teammates. said, one night after practice or after dinner, came down to the fields to work with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren to just get their perspective. And we've continued to see that as well. I think even George Pickens, who spoke late last week, said, I'm comfortable stepping up as a leader in the room, not the oldest guy, but somebody who they are clearly going to rely on, and they clearly need to stay healthy and to do what he does no matter what. He's the guy right now.
Well, he's the focal point in the receiver room. I mean, what he's done, what we've seen him do over the last couple of years has been phenomenal. So there is an expectation to get him the ball more, to have a very conscious effort to include him in the offense early and often, and he's earned that. He's earned that cachet, and he's built up that reputation. So I like the fact that he also recognizes that, with great talents and skills comes great responsibility, right? Stan Lee, Marvel, right? With great responsibility, but with great talent and skills comes great responsibility. So he has to own up to that. One of the interesting things I want to note about this 7 shots nobody else can see is Troy Fautano took all 3 first string right tackle snaps.
Okay.
Dan Moore took the first 2 left tackle snaps, and then Broderick Jones took the 3rd one. So we're starting to see, guys, I think the prep for the game mindset starting to come in here as far as how the offensive line is being manipulated and played with to get ready for the game on Friday.
And getting them that experience as well. But we're going to get Max down to the field because I know you're ready. They're in pads.
Can't wait.
You need to go do some homework for us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here on Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. I'll be back at 3 p.m. with Craig Wolfley for our Training Camp wrap-up show. We'll see everybody then. Have a great day.